Welcome back to another video, guys, and today we're going to be talking about what I would do if I started my teacher training today. So if you don't already know, I did 3 years of teacher training at Hull University, and I've now been a primary school teacher. I'm in my 4th year of being an actual teacher in schools, and so it has been a few years since I was at university. I've had time now to reflect on how it went, how I did, and the things I would do the same, the things I do differently, and that kind of just a reflection on what was a really, really good, positive time in my life. Now, this can also apply to 1-year courses as well, so do keep watching if you're heading into your teacher training, because hopefully it'll give you some ideas about what's coming up, what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be learning, and if you can avoid the same mistakes that I made and make the same successes that I did, hopefully in a few years you'll find yourself confidently in a teaching post and really enjoying your career like I am. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and as always, the support on this channel is greatly appreciated. So if you do have any questions, then please leave a comment, because A, I love helping you guys out if I can, and B, it does help the channel out, and things like liking, subscribing the video. Thank you very much if you've already done that. So let's get into it first. And first of all, if I was going to university to do my teacher training, then the first thing I would make sure I do is that I would enjoy the freedom you get at university, guys, all right? You're going into what is going to be a very busy course. Now, that might be 1 year, that might be 3 years. You are going to be very busy, but you're also going to have a lot of time where you actually get some free time. You get to go and live your life and explore, especially if you're now 18, heading off to university for 3 years, doing a 3-year course, a B.Ed course, something like that at a university to do your teacher training. Go and enjoy yourself, guys. Go and have fun. Go have a bit of it crazy, enjoy yourselves, and just go and live the life that you want to live, all right? You've got 3 years to get out there, see what the world's like before you start being a teacher in primary school. Now, of course, you do have to make sure that you're still, if you're going to be a primary school teacher, still following things like the teaching standards, so being professional at all times, making sure that you're not, embarrassing yourself, whatever you might end up doing, who knows, while you're at university. But do go and enjoy yourselves and have a good time, because it's one of the best times of your life. I look back at university and think, you know what, I had an absolutely great time. I met some amazing people. I met my now wife there, so you will go and have a great time at university, but do make sure you enjoy it. Don't worry too much about what's coming up, about what your first assignment's going to be, about what your first essay might be on. Go and enjoy yourself. Go enjoy Freshers Week in the first few weeks. Go out there, join clubs, do things you've never done before, and just generally have a good time, because your teacher training is a fantastic opportunity, but it is also a very hard working opportunity. And so while you get a little bit of free time to enjoy yourself, go and do that. However, eventually we do need to get around to work. So once you're done enjoying yourself and you're back into lectures, into your essays, into your presentations, then let's get started and what is coming up for you guys. So the first thing I would do is I would make sure I get as much experience in schools as possible, because when you are in schools, that is when you do most of your learning on teacher training. Most of your knowledge about what teaching is like comes from when you go into schools. Now, some of the lectures are very useful, but the in-school training is by far the most important. So I'd make sure I can get in school as much as possible. Now, when I was at university, I did 3 placements. I did 1 each year. There was a 7-week, an 8-week, and a 9-week placement, and they were brilliant. But over 3 years, there's not a lot of time in school, and I didn't really experience a vast range of different things that go off inside schools. So I'd make sure that actually, if I could go back and start again now with the knowledge I have right now, I'd go and try and get a few more volunteering days in schools. I'd go around local primary schools, send emails to the office, to the head teacher, and just say that I'm a primary teaching student, I'm at the local university, I've got my DBS, I want to see if I can do some volunteering in primary schools just to see what it's really like. And then when you've got a day off from lectures or an afternoon off from lectures, go and see if you can go and volunteer. All right, now it might not seem the most exciting part of being at university, and by all means don't do this the whole time, because you do need some time for yourself as well. But if you can, do go get into those primary schools and see if you can do some work alongside other teachers and learn from them. But as I said earlier, the most learning you will do on your course is when you're in schools. The lectures are all well and good, and you do get some interesting information, but in terms of learning what it's like to be a teacher, nothing will compare to getting into primary schools and actually doing the teaching. So see if you can have a go doing that, and hopefully you'll have some extra advantage over other students in terms of grades and placements and that kind of thing, but also just for yourself and your development of being a teacher. Then see what it's like, get into primary schools and see if you really do enjoy it and if it's right for you. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is, first of all, fairly obviously, that you need to be working hard, all right? There's a lot of work to do on a primary teaching course, and a lot of students do end up not making the grades, sadly. So over the 3 years at my university, I think we started with close to 200 students on the course, and by the end of the 3rd year, about 60 of us qualified. So about 2/3 or just over 2/3 of people didn't make it through the full 3 years. Now, that's for a variety of reasons. Lots of them were just because actually they realised that it wasn't for them, and that's perfectly okay, all right? If you realise it's not for you, don't soldier on through if you're not going to use the qualification at the end, if you don't think it's necessary. Go and find what you do want to do. But if you do think it's something for you and you do think you really are enjoying it, then work as hard as you can, because the more hard work you put in now, the better it will be in the future. And that is for a variety of reasons, such as getting to know the tutors and showing off that you've got a good work ethic, all right? Now, I'm still in touch with some of the tutors at my university, one especially who we go and see probably once every year if we can, though due to COVID, not always has been possible the past few years. But she was an absolutely amazing tutor that we had at university. I should probably call her professor, actually, because she was a professor, I think. She's a doctor. And she just was absolutely brilliant. And we've recently gone back and I've had a good chat with her about trying to find a connection for my school that I work at now in another country, and she's looking at doing that for some of her students too, so we're talking about that. And it's just those kind of connections where you never know when they might be useful in the future. So as you're working hard and showing you've got that good work ethic, do get to know your tutors and your professors and make sure that you can build those connections with them, because in the future, especially if you're staying in the area where your university is, they will often be people who work alongside schools or even work into school or even work in schools in that local area. So having those connections from the start will be really useful when you then come to applying for jobs, because if they work in a school and you want to apply for that school, straight away you've got someone who can give you a good reference. You can say, yep, that person's someone you want, someone who works hard, someone who'll do good for this school and good for the pupils in our school. And so you've got that good connection, you've got that kind of step in the door already for your own benefit of being a good teacher when you come to qualify, but also work hard to impress other people and to get those good connections, because hopefully then you can use them later on down the line to benefit yourself and the school you end up working in. Now, the next tip I did touch on earlier, but is very, very important, and that is to be professional at all times, including when you go on placements, and kind of most importantly when you go on placements, all right? Now, especially when you go to university and you're young, you're 18, everyone does make mistakes, so do not worry too much if you have not quite been always as professional as you could have been, but do make sure in all areas of your life as much as possible you are being professional about upholding those teaching standards. Now, that's not to say you have to be on top of your game all the time, be that kind of upstanding role model in society. So do make sure that you have a look at the teaching standards, and you know what they are, and you are upholding them throughout your life as much as possible. One of the main reasons for this is, as we were talking about earlier, you want to set a good impression, especially with teachers in your local area. If you're staying there, because again, it all falls into wanting to get a job at the end of university. Now, if you've not necessarily been as professional as you could have been, especially on placement, and then you come to applying for jobs, it might end up that actually teachers have spoken to other teachers about how you've been on placement, because they might know each other, they might know at local schools, and you might suddenly have a reputation for not being as professional as you want your reputation to be. Now, obviously, hopefully this won't happen to you, but if it does, you need to make sure that you are proving to everybody that you can be as professional as you want to be, as you can be, and really show off how hard you can work. All right, and now that starts right from the very first day, saying, actually, look, you know what, I've got a job to do. I'm here to train to be a teacher. It's not a qualification that is taken lightly. It's not a qualification that's easy to get hold of. And so you're there to work hard and do your very, very best. So do make sure you're being professional in every way you can be, as much as possible, to really have that good reputation and that good standing in the future. The next thing I'd say is the most important thing to learn while you're on teacher training is to learn about how lessons are delivered, how they're planned, and how the whole curriculum is shaped. It's a really difficult skill to be able to plan lessons, not just one individual lesson, but a grand scheme of lessons over the course of a week, a month, a year, to see how they all fit in across a term, how they'll run from one to the next, and to really kind of cover the whole curriculum over the course of that year. It's something that took me a while to learn how to do properly. I'd say I'm probably 2 years into my teaching career before I felt fully confident in doing that. And so I think definitely something that I'd suggest look into as early as you can. Not sure if you can hear that, but we've got an ice cream van outside and it's literally just started raining at the same time. Poor ice cream man. Anyway, let's get back into this. So we've got planning, and over the course of a year, it is hard work. It is something that you really need to understand why things are taught the way they're taught. So do go and ask as many teachers as you can about how they plan over the course of not just one lesson, but how they look at planning the term, planning the year, planning each week, each month. Where does that information come from? What do they use anything to help deliver the curriculum? Any schemes they use? And don't worry too much about the individual schemes that they are, because the school you end up working at might use something different, but it's interesting and it's really good to know how they use that scheme and deliver it into a curriculum. So hopefully this has been really useful for you guys. I think they're my top tips. That's what I would do if I went back to teacher training now. They're the questions I'd ask, they're the things I'd make sure I was going to have a go at as early as possible, because I do think it's something where you will have the best time on teacher training. It is really, really fantastic. It's a great career to get into, but do put as much hard work in as you can and do learn as much as you can. Be open, be willing, be ready to learn, because there's a lot to learn, especially in that first year. If you're on your teacher training for 3 years, that first year is so important, but so is the second, so is the third. And if you're not on teacher training over 3 years, you're on it over 1 year, then enjoy, buckle up. It's a crazy year, but at the end of it, you'll be a fully qualified teacher and you'll be in schools teaching your own class. So good luck with all your training. Do let me know if you've got any questions, and as always, the video every Tuesday, Friday and Sunday, and I'll see you very soon.